Hey, what's keeping you up so late? Got something on your mind? Let's talk about it. My name is Coffee Dark and Sweet, and you are now tuned in to the Midnight Coffee Podcast. Here, have a sip. What up, though? What up, though? Welcome to Midnight Coffee. This is your destination for organic conversations that ground us to our common sources as we ascend to our defined purposes together. My name is Coffee Dark and Sweet. I'm here with my co-host, Eric Thompson Jr.,
What up, what up, what up?
and we have a very special guest in the building, Mr. Bryce the Third.
Yo.
Welcome, you guys. We are at the Shotcast Network Studios, doing great things. About to get into a wonderful conversation entitled "The Pursuit of Happiness." And before we get into that, I want to give everybody a chance to introduce yourself. Tell everybody, who you are, what you do, why you do it. And I'm going to let Bryce start.
All right. Well, what's up, everybody? I am Bryce the Third from Inkster, Michigan. I am an artist, entrepreneur, community organizer, and just overall dope human being. I'm happy to be here.
Definitely would agree. All right. I'm Coffee Dark and Sweet, multifaceted creative. I poetry, cooking, a mom. My major goal is to be of service and find different creative ways to continue to do that. And be here for my community. And my co-host,
Eric
Mr.
Thompson Jr. I'm an author, a poet. I like to call myself a youth empowerment coach because I like to do stuff to give back to the kids for sure.
Like what?
I coach basketball, and I'm a part of like this mentoring organization called Active Minds, and we've been doing like some good stuff on the east side. with
Nice.
kids.
Nice.
That's what's up. That's what's up. The children are the future, as Whitney Houston put it. Question for the group: would y'all consider yourselves happy?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. How you get there?
Is there a roadmap?
Man.
I don't know.
I think internal work for real for me. That's where that conversation starts. Is a look internally. I'm more focused on what it feels like more so than what it looks like, and also coming to the understanding and realization that it's not a destination.
Right.
Like I can't pursue happiness as if one day I'm just gonna achieve it and wake up and like, oh, I'm happy. Like it's an active practice. Like how can I actively practice the practices that bring me closer, bring me more in alignment with what it is that I've defined as happiness.
That's real. That's real for sure.
How do you define happiness?
Honestly, I look at happiness like it can be fleeting, like emotions. So it's just how you feel in the moment. I mean, well, not in the moment as far as happiness, but just what brings you joy, I would say. And it'd be hard because, like, sometimes you use another word to describe a word, but it's like...
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, is joy and happiness the same thing?
And then, like, as soon as I said
That's
that,
a
I thought
good
about it.
question.
I'm like, damn. I feel like happiness is something that could be fleeting, like, just how you feel. With joy, it's like... Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's... I think I use them in the same sense, maybe,
Yeah.
and
A lot
that
of
might not be
people
the
do.
right thing to do, but...
Yeah. But once again, what is right? Who has a monopoly on what's
That's
right?
exactly.
How does it serve you? What resonates with your spirit? And that's what you kind of lean towards.
That's real. That's
and I
real.
think like even us having this like conversation right now, intentionally, this may be the catalyst for you to learn how to define those things for yourself and how to empower yourself through that definition.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes, literally. That was the goal of the episode because, like, we have these unalienable rights, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I'm very, what's the word? I'm very leery when it comes to things written down a long time ago by white people. especially when it comes to America and our rights, quote unquote. And essentially that would mean something that we are entitled to. And I know all too well, and I know y'all know as black people, we don't really have anything that we are entitled to in America.
Oh shit.
Like,
can we cuss?
Yeah.
Because there's this conversation I've been having in private that I haven't, like I've just started to have it in public, around the word entitlement. I mean, we can get into that whenever we want to.
We can get
Right
into it.
So there can be like this negative connotation around the word entitlement.
Yeah.
Oh, you seem entitled,
Yeah.
you know? But the more I've traversed other cultures, the more I've come across people that there's certain things that it's not like, so for me, I've had to like reprogram myself and learn how to show up in such a way where it's like, okay, you know, I'm going to mold myself in a way to where I attract these things. I work on me, and then that in turn becomes a magnet for the things that I desire or have defined as things that I desire.
Right.
There's some people that don't like have that. It's just like, oh, that shit's mine.
Yeah.
Like what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like people that go into spaces like this, no, this is mine. This is all wrong because this belongs to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that entitlement is what designs that life for them, and whether it be subconsciously or consciously.
Right.
Usually for entitlement, it seems to be subconscious. The reason they live in the lives that they live and have the things that they have is because they demand it, but it's beyond like the conscious demanding. It's the subconscious of, no, that's mine. What the fuck?
Right.
Like if I don't have that, like something's wrong.
No
you
other
know?
thought about it.
So
Yeah.
Can I be entitled? And there's certain things that I would like to be entitled around, like you know, like a space, like space. I run a podcast called Rise, Recover, Live. It's a podcast where we merge storytelling and recovery. I'm a person in recovery from substance use disorder, and a guest that we had on, Sophie Lyons, she came on and said, "You deserve as much space as you want." And she's a young white girl, and for me to hear that, I'm like, oh shit, I could take up space.
Right.
You know, like I never considered that.
Right.
Right.
Like, oh, you can take up space. We had I'm not gonna put nobody on blast, but we had this this situation where we was at the boba tea spot where there's all these people in line, and we get to the line, and my partner, she's like trying to decide what she wants. And, you know, I just had to look at her and give her like, yo, take your time.
Right.
Like, you deserve the space to figure it out just like anybody else in this line.
Right.
You know, that space, like that's one of the things that I want to be entitled to. When I'm confused, I need the space to be able to allow for good confusion because that allows for me to cultivate wisdom. Man. You know, but as black men, we supposed to know right now.
Right
and
away.
if we not producing in result culture, like we are failure.
Like you're useless.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I invited you, because you said something at I don't think you was featuring, but you were performing, and you said I don't got nothing going on right now, and I'm learning to be okay with that. Like you said. You talk about the production culture. Like even as a black woman, especially with my kids, I'm supposed to know everything all the time. I don't have a room or space to be wrong, to be vulnerable or, you know, human essentially. I got to a point where I was like feeling very, very much so robotic, to the point where I kind of convinced myself I was a machine, because how in the hell was I working doing so much so consistently? I'm like, you know, this is not inhumane. So that's another, the entitlement thing is another reason why we're having this conversation, is because nobody has to tell certain demographics of people what they're entitled to. And for us, it's like they can say all day long, oh, you have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but that is challenged consistently. That's challenged every day, all the time. And we do have certain things that we are entitled to naturally as humans. But I don't think that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are those things, because liberty would be defined by a system that could produce it. And America is not really a system that produces liberty. Also, nobody has to tell you that you have the right to life. We're born. We have just as much a right to life as a blade of grass. That's not something that has to be told to you. And so when you say stuff like that, and then you constantly disenfranchise people and put them in compromising situations, then you you pretty much are, oh, like your mama say, oh, I gave you life, I can take it away. Then you are creating that kind of dynamic. Oh, we don't have any rights. They took our rights away. Nobody has to tell you that you have the right to live once you're born. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we gonna go to, cause like even like Black Lives Matter, right? I remember when I first like heard the term. I remember I was seeing like a lot of white people say it, which is dope. Right. Allyship is beautiful, and I encourage it. But for me, like, I wasn't wearing none of that shit because I was like, that's something that, like, we don't know that.
Like, I gotta say that shit. Like, yeah, for sure.
It was interesting to me because I'm like, damn, like, this isn't like a given.
Right. Right. And I was on the same wave with Black Lives Matter. Like, actually, no. I'm over. Like, I won't say protesting as a whole. I'm over like the whole peaceful protest marching. It just like, to me, reminds me of my children. My oldest daughter is 7. She know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. She can sit there and ask me to make one and then cry until I produce it. Or she can get up herself and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We can't sit here and beg a system that we know is designed against us to be for us all of a sudden. It doesn't make sense.
It's so tricky. It's so tricky because I think this is the how Sway conversation, right? Where like Sway was telling Kanye, like, bro, just make your own shit. Like, just make your own Nike. And Kanye was like, how, nigga? Like, how I'm supposed to make my own shit? Like, it's a club. They not letting me in. And it wasn't until like I really started. So I was accepted into this program out in D.C. called the Koch Associates Program, run by Stand Together Fellowships. Charles Koch, if you look him up, he's like the 13th richest person in the entire planet. And
like KOCH Koch?
KOCH Koch. Yeah, some of y'all might know. Some people might have, but all I received from that environment was empowerment. Good. But then in those arenas, like I'm out there and I'm soaking it in, and it's just it's hitting different. Like I lost my train of thought. What the fuck was I saying?
It's okay. we was talking about protesting and Black Lives Matter and
yeah, I have no fucking idea what I was going with that shit. I don't know how I was about to tie that shit all together. Maybe I was just trying to brag. Shit. I don't know. Yeah, I was out there standing together. I don't know where I was going with that.
No, I love what y'all both said though about like the entitlement, taking up space and stuff like that. And what you said was like when we ask for to like for a motherfucker to respect your rights and all, it's like nobody should have to tell you to take up space. I think about like when a motherfucker be like, I'm gonna let you be a man. Me and my dad had this conversation. It's like, you don't let me be a man. Yeah. Like, or a woman say that, I'm gonna let you be. Like, you don't fucking let me be a man. I'm gonna be a man because that's what I am. Like, but I feel like we get caught up in not being able or not feeling like we
so
can
oppressed.
Be. Yeah, it's like,
yes, we need permission to be human
and let me hide and all that bullshit. And that's nah.
I work with majority women in the kitchen, and the amount of times we say I'm sorry is incredibly insane. It's so when I and then we got to the point where we were all telling each other like, stop saying that shit, like stop, do not apologize to me, I'm fine, like right. Because we apologizing for stuff like taking our space. It's not even something that you have to necessarily apologize for, but like I said, we become so dampered down and inhuman. A lot of the ways we are forced to be productive, and that's another reason why the pursuit of happiness being in there, I feel like is another way that, like, a wordplay trick of the enemy. Because the constant pursuit of happiness, especially when you in America and we got this American dream kind of situation going, happiness got a price tag on it. Happiness is a big house. Happiness is cars. Happiness is a job that pays well. Happiness is going out to clubs and getting drunk with your friends. Happiness is fleeting. And it can be produced by so many different things. We become overstimulated, I feel like, in an effort to pursue specifically happiness, because it's a never-ending wheel. It's I feel like that is what fuels the rat race.
It's almost as if, because it assumes, like, the pursuit of happiness, that phrase assumes that happiness doesn't exist now.
Yeah.
And so
that is something outside of yourself that you have to get.
And if I'm in pursuit of happiness, it's never here. It's always somewhere else.
So you always chasing.
And anytime you just searching and chasing for something, you never get it because like that don't exist. Anything you want exists inside of you first. Like,
right.
And so that's like in Buddhism, it's called samsara, where like the wheel of suffering, and like a hungry ghost. Like you continue to put in, and the more you put in, the more you want.
Right.
And that assumes like the next thing that I achieve or the next place that I go to or the next person that I interact with or this intimate relationship or this thing that I attain is going to bring this thing that satiates that craving.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it until we observe that craving and learn how to define what it is that we consider success to be, then it's like pouring water into a cup with no bottom. Right. Like we're just going to keep pouring and it's never going to get full, you know? And I think like specifically for our culture, once again, we're talking about the results culture, like when is the performance ever enough? Man. You know, like when like I follow this one lady, Shalene Johnson, and she like took me under her wing on Instagram. I don't even know where she came from. She used to do these old workout videos. Older white lady, and her husband have been. We're traveling for 5 months. Mm-hmm. They've been in Greece. They've been here. They've been there, and like they've been traveling with no destination, just going. Just taking time off. And even what I'm doing right now, I'm not in Greece and shit. Right. But like it's as important to take a rest than it is to be like productive. really be activating.
You cannot possibly produce anything worthy if you are not resting.
Cause it's just like music. Like imagine if music, your favorite song was just like all noise, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, bang, like it wouldn't even be good music. Like
It'd be horrible.
Part of what makes the music important. Part of what makes music important is the spaces between the notes.
Man,
it's like constant. Okay, I get what you're saying because I'm like, there's this song that is just noise. It's just noise. I'm like, this shit is happening. But yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that was a good analogy because that's literally what it feels like. I find myself perpetually overstimulated. There's way too much to do, not enough of me to do it. You know what I'm saying? Not enough for me to think about it, not enough for me to strategize, you know. And that's coming. I felt like for me that was coming out of a pursuit to be happy.
Koffee. What do you define happiness as?
Happiness, like I said, is a temporary, fleeting emotion, just like all the other emotions. And we experience such a plethora of emotions. To expect yourself to be at a continuous state of happiness actually produces anxiety because we are not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to be constantly changing and going through the motions of life and being a multifaceted human being. What joy does, though, for me, it allows me to know that. So when I'm experiencing an emotion that's not happiness, I'm okay because I know that this is fleeting and it will change soon into something totally different. And I allow myself to do that. Like I had an experience at work and I had an attitude and I'm one of those people like heart on the sleeve type of people. No matter how much I try, I cannot hide the way that I'm feeling. It's just not gonna work. So people would ask me, what's wrong? And I'm telling them nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's really wrong. I'll be okay. And my coworker's like, she said, oh, well, your mood, it just changed. I said, yeah, they do that. Give it a minute, it'll change again. Like, everybody else is tripping, but I was really fine. Like, I know this. So I'm that brings me peace and allows me to be joyful for real. Because, and I also believe that everything is, and this comes from my firm grounding belief in God, that every single thing is working out for my favor. And if I hadn't had so many, times where I wasn't happy, I would have nothing to offer the world. I would have nothing at all to offer anybody. So I'm more grateful to experience, all these different kinds of emotions. And because I don't expect myself to be happy all the time, like I said, when I am feeling something like frustration or anger, I recognize it as such. I let my tears water the ground, that I stand on. That's where the seed of whatever is happening is being planted. So I just
shit.
let them
Poetic.
fall.
I'm finna say the poet just came out.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't hold myself to any standard of emotion or my children.
That
I kinda
swung
just
it
let
back
them
to
be.
what y'all were just saying though, because you was like, how do you get there? And it's like you go through a lot of shit. That's how you get
Pretty
there.
much, yeah.
I feel like for myself personally, it's like when we were talking earlier, I'm like, damn, I feel really good. It's like a space I've never been in, and I'm like, it's kind of weird, but it's like that came from all the bullshit I've been through, and knowing like you gonna be okay.
Yes.
I think so. I used to really like not fuck with time.
Same.
Because I mean, like I came up in a neighborhood where like you know, older niggas would just like, you know, respect me, you know, or like, you know, even in the culture, like respect me because I'm older. And it's like, bro, you doing the same shit I'm doing. I'm 13, my nigga. Like, you know, like I'm not gonna respect you just because you've been here
Just
longer.
because, yeah.
But the older I've gotten, or should I say, the more time I've had to have experience, and the more intentional I've been in that experience.
Right.
Like I've learned, like, oh, but time can be used to cultivate wisdom. Yeah. You know, and so in that wisdom, like I've had to have heartbreak. I've had to have shit not go the way that I expected. Yeah. I had to go in, be anxious when I went in and see what happens. You know, like this, like even when it comes to like creating content or making music or activating with other artists in the city or like throughout the country, like the way that I'm able to activate now is built on the back of all of the things that we could have considered failure if like the buck stopped there. But like it just, we keep going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like Eric was talking about, like that wisdom is like all the bullshit that I've experienced really wasn't bullshit, because all work works. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All work works. Whether it's working for you right now or it's working on you, turning you into the person that is going to work for you.
But it's never working against you. Right. People like there's a common statement in Christianity, which I'm not necessarily Christian, by the way. I want to disclaim that. But I, like I said, I have a firm belief in God, in the stories in the Bible and the way that it was written. People, when you go and get saved, and I feel like this is something that religion does that disenfranchises the multitude and magnitude of what God is. They tell you, do you accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? And then you say yes, and then all of a sudden you're saved, right? And there's a spot for you in heaven. You cannot, you know, they pretty much tell you can't go to hell.
You can do.
Nothing you can do. That was already true. That was true before you knew you were Christian. That was true before you even knew the word to say Jesus. That has always been true. And in the acceptance of that, first of all, it frees you up to be human and to have, you know, all of these experiences, but it also lets me know that I'm already saved.
Your wholeness is inherent.
Yes,
you're complete.
You are already complete. Yes, and the way that God sees you as His perfect child. You have been that this entire time. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim or atheist or whatever you are, gay. It don't matter who you are or what you are. God knows His people. And that you know what I'm saying. And what happens with the pursuit of happiness is we take something that is inherent and we try to go out and get it, which creates friction with the natural order because we was never in control to begin with.
I think what's important here is where we even started, where it's like that intentional conversation with self, because you'll look at those notions and be like, "Oh shit, I'm about to drop out. I'm about to move to the woods. I'm about to like, grow my locks, and I'm about to live in a loincloth, and you know I'm about to walk and I'm barefoot, and that's cool too." You know what I'm saying? Like, so. It's not. I don't think it's an either or. Like you do the rat race or you do this. It's like I've defined. I'm continuously defining what it is that I consider to be success, and I'm having an intentional conversation around that. Therefore, I can set up the target, and it's like, okay, if I hit that, then I hit that. Now I'm successful. Or if I didn't hit that, then I can alter my behavior to be able to hit that if I want to. And a lot of times what ends up happening is in the pursuit of what it is that I've defined to be success, what I found is the process is what I was looking for. Like I've turned into who it is
That
that
was beautiful.
I desired that thing, but what I was really desiring was the growth
It was gonna
internally
take you to get
that can only come in pursuit of that thing.
Right.
And the things that you sacrifice along the way are things that would have stopped you from getting there. A lot of people look at sacrifice as a negative thing, but I'm continually making sacrifices all day long, and I've never made a sacrifice I regret making. So I'm really, really, really glad that you said that, you used that analogy. That was great.
Yeah, a big thing, man. One, I use it for humility a lot. Is like nobody has a monopoly on what's right.
Right.
You know, so I don't think like the purpose of a conversation around happiness is to even define what that is.
Yeah,
Right.
You know,
for
I
you.
think it's each and every one of us at this table, like we have to have an intentional conversation with ourselves to figure out what that definition is.
Yes, and the target is always moving.
And that's my way. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you don't
Right.
gotta have an intentional conversation for shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like this is what's worked for me to allow me to actually have a process to contain what happiness is.
to measure it
Right.
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah. And then to add that one part, like so the inherent wholeness, I think has allowed for me to have another thing which a lot of times is absent within a culture, which is self-compassion. That's a big thing that I
Grace.
teach. Like I teach empowerment, I teach entrepreneurship, I teach art. And the root of all that is compassion and understanding for self and for others.
Yeah.
You know, that allows for me to continue to show up when life gets tough and give my, like when I had the brain fart earlier, right? Like this is a perfect example because there's a previous iteration of me who would have been fucked up and turned off for the rest of this conversation. Like, damn, like I don't want to lose my train of thought again. Like then I start thinking super heavy.
Yeah.
But like it's so automatic now. Oh man, everybody fuck up all the time.
Right.
Like that compassion for myself. And what I've learned is we begin to plant the seeds for. When people see people, are you fucked up and you kept going? Are you fucked up and you kept showing up and you did it in love? Like, damn, I want some of that. Now I know that exists. Now that seed has been planted in me to be able to do it. It's a ripple effect.
Man, that's so real. I'm glad you said that, though. I had a poetry feature, and I stumbled on my words. And I'm like, but it's in my head. Like, I don't watch other people, and I'll be like, damn, don't stop. The person in the crowd don't know you
Don't
fucked up.
even know.
But I still did. I'm like,
Yeah.
And I caught myself, and I just kept going. But I thought about it later, like, that was beautiful because normally I would have went crazy for fucking up just internally. Like, damn, I fucked up. But
And that's that result.
you human. Like, you're not perfect. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
keep going.
I noticed that you use success and happiness interchangeably.
Do
Yeah, you've been doing it this entire time.
I? Interesting.
It is.
Hey, we talked about this might be a space for healing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I think part of my personal happiness, like contained within it, is success. And I think, and once again, these are fucking words. Like ultimately, like what's most important is what it is versus what it sounds like. Like it's less about what I say today and more about who it is that I am. And I think the reason that I answered hell yeah when you asked me, I went in. You know, and you one of those people too. Like, there's some people like, how are you doing? I'm straight. I'm good.
Right.
You know, there's other people who is like, you know, the energy. So it's like, if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm gonna go in for a second to make sure, like, ain't nothing that I need to put on the floor and talk about because I can be transparent and honest here. This is a safe space.
Yeah.
But the reason I said hell yeah so quick is because I've been super intentional about my interpersonal relationship, my intimate relationship, partnership, entrepreneurism, my professional growth, my personal growth, my spiritual growth. Like, I've been super intentional about it. And, you know, there's been days with tears. There's been days where it's like I feel on top of the world. There's been days where I've been scatterbrained and ain't do shit. You know,
Executive
productive-wise.
dysfunction.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, but ultimately throughout all that, there's this intentional process. And that's why, like, it was a short delay between you asking me, am I happy, and me being able to respond, is because I'm an active participant in the process. Yeah. Now, will that be the same a week from now? I don't know. You'll have to talk to me then. But that's why I say it's a practice. But to the observation of success and happiness being used interchangeably, I don't know what the fuck that is. I think part of me being happy is me feeling that I'm successful, and that's part of my perception of self.
What success is to you.
And because a season that I've been in recently, I just noticed like the way that I perceive myself and the way that I perceive my world and the experience that I was having was starting to like, I don't know. It was like, I don't know what it was, but I learned how important it is to shape and mold the experience.
Right.
You know, so I had to start getting up and reading just like I brush my teeth. You know what I'm saying? I had to bring back the PD in, the personal development in. You know what I'm saying? I had to, you know, say my prayers. I had to make sure that I'm not having conversation with people or like I'm really setting boundaries around the conversation that I let in. I had to figure out what conversation was on autopilot. When somebody asked me, you know, how am I doing? Like, where am I going with that? And with my answer, I had to be super intentional. And in that intention, like that allowed for me to show up for myself in a way. It was like, oh, like instead of asking, what does this mean? You know, things happen like, oh, 777 or like, boo, 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 or like what does this mean? It's like, yes, there are things that may be above me, but also I play a huge role in developing that meaning. You know what I'm saying? Because this could mean everything. Like this could mean that the end of the world is happening, or this could mean that this is an opportunity to grow and develop. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit, but it's just about like what is the lens like. So I've been doing a lot of buffering on my lens to make sure that it's in alignment with where it is that I define that I want to go.
Man. That was beautiful.
No, that's real shit, though.
Yeah, I really like that. For a minute, I had this download where the inside of my mind was revealed to me like a home with many rooms, and I was able to take note of the shape of these rooms and, you know, the contents, and essentially like I physically saw myself walking through my brain with a broom. And like sweeping up and putting stuff where it's supposed to go, and then the back of my mind, I needed it to be the biggest, brightest picture of where I was going. And when I first had this download, I had like a vision, white picket fence house kind of American dream kind of situation going on in the back of my mind. So it didn't matter what I was actively looking at. Like that was what my focal point was on, that picture in the back of my head. As I like went through a couple of more things and kind of grew on my spiritual journey, that picture became a bright white light. And people tell you all the time, like we see it in movies and somebody's dying, they're like, oh, don't go into the light, don't go into the light. But I choose to go into the light as often as I possibly can, because I'm going to come out on the other end a new person. And every single day we have the option to go through. If I could define it, that would be what happiness is to me. The choice to go through that light and to know on the other end of that light is a new life. And that can happen every single second. There is no limit to that new life.
You also gave me a little download just now, because there is this thing that can hinder appreciation, where like we have this eye, like how you said, the white picket fence, and it's like I'm going and all I see is the picture that's in the back of my mind. A lot of times we'll have this defined picture of like what it looks like to be happy or what it looks like to be successful. And until we see that exact picture, like we don't even see what's in front of us. So we're projecting like this almost, I wouldn't say unrealistic, because you should be delusional with your visions. Can create anything you want to. You know what I'm saying? And what's happening right in front of you, it is the most important. You know what I'm saying? There's not even a tomorrow. You know, when we get to tomorrow will be today. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, this is where like I'm glad I'm in this room, because this is where creatives, I think, at least for me as a creative, because there's a bit of delusion that has to happen in order to have a desire to create something that doesn't exist yet here, you know? And so I have to be a bit delusional. And there's sometimes where I can get on the far end of that spectrum where it's like, yo, like nothing I want to exists yet. And there's so much to bring into fruition. And it that sometimes can prevent me from being here. Where it's like, oh shit, I'm perfect. Like, oh shit, this is perfect. And a lot of times that realization and that settling in is what allows me to be empowered to create that vision and take the step towards creating that vision. Because I don't know about you, Koffee, I don't know about you, Eric, but sometimes my visions get so big, I don't even know where to start. You know?
And that's why I like the bright white light, because what started happening was I would still go back to them rooms in my brain, but what I would do is I would take the things that I wanted, that I considered to be success or whatever it was, and throw them into the light. So it don't matter how many times I go through the light. What I want is on the other side. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I would just like pick. So at that point, it's not a picture in my mind. It's I done gave it to God essentially. Yeah, and I'm just like living now. Yeah. So that it did allow me to be present. But what it also allowed me to do, which is I think a lot of people, I don't know. It's just it might be like a me brain thing, but like the way my brain works. But it allowed me to be fully conscious and awake and dream at the same time. I'm sitting in this room, right? And we here at Shotcast Network Studios, and you know where we at. But in my mind, we in the same room, probably having the same conversation, but we in a actual production studio, like, you know what I'm saying? It's we done Tyler Perry networked this situation. So it's like I'm here, but I'm not. Like I don't know how to describe that. But yeah, that allows me to be like graceful. Because a lot of times when we feel like something bad is coming, we brace ourselves. And they tell you, even when you get into car accidents, that's the worst thing that you can do. Because when you bracing your body for impact, you creating tension. You literally are creating more opportunities for your bones to get broken, for your skin to get bruised, and this kind of thing. So I changed the word brace to grace. So every time I fuck up, or every time somebody fuck up with me, or I, don't respond how I should or felt like I should have, it's like my inner dialogue, my subconscious will tell me, brace yourself, brace yourself.
That's fire. When you said that about the accident thing, I got into an accident in like 2013. Somebody rear-ended me. And I looked back, but I saw him coming. It was nothing I could do. Like, couldn't brace myself in the moment. But what happened was it caused so much trauma. Like, anytime somebody was flying behind me, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, scared every single time. And I just noticed maybe about 4 or 5 months ago that a car was flying behind me. And I'm like, damn, I didn't get scared. And it was so empowering because I'm like, fuck, I'm finally over that shit. But that's a real thing. That's a real thing for sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was going with that.
But no, but it did, because a lot of times with changing brace yourself to grace yourself, a lot of the experiences that because what happens is we got, like I said, a plethora of experiences and emotions to have as humans. And we could go through something that wasn't necessarily positive, but because the culture would tell you, oh, this is traumatizing, you decide, I'm traumatized. Right. So that's like blocking your ability to heal and also to forgive people. Forgiveness does something for me, which I would say I would incorporate forgiveness into happiness and joy for sure, because what happens when you forgive people is what happens when you don't forgive people is you carry the bags of and the trauma essentially lives in it's a living thing. So now you are possessed. You were possessed by the spirit of anger, of defeat, or whatever it is, however you felt when you were having this experience with this person. And what happened for me when I decided to forgive people, I ascended. I started to feel light and like light. I started to feel like I was moving at the speed of literal light. Like I was weightless. And I don't feel like that's something that a lot of people get to experience. And that's not to say that I don't have memories and it will still hurt sometimes. And I'm actively, having an inner dialogue and praying and for me to be able to forgive even more. Because just as the Bible say, oh, they're human. When Jesus was getting crucified, he said, forgive them, Father, they're human. They know not what they do. So that applies to me and everybody else around me. And we have these energetic contracts that we make when we come here. You know what I'm saying? That we make with the higher spirit to have a specific journey that gets like wiped from our memories, essentially. Right. You know what I'm saying? So the person and you, I feel like, are active participants in fulfilling that decree. Yeah. And it's almost an autopilot thing. It's certain stuff you can't avoid, and it's certain things that certain ways and energies that people cannot avoid being. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it literally is just life. But being able to forgive for sure, it unburdened me in a way that I didn't realize was possible. I was so dark. I talk about this in the mental health episode. Like I was encompassed in so much darkness. The thinking about all of the things, the things that people put me through and the bad things that people say about me. And, oh, I wish they would let me live.
Let me.
And I got to the point where I was just so encompassed in darkness to where I had no choice but to accept it. And in that acceptance, I was able to really listen, and I stopped fighting it, and that in turn kind of allowed me to forgive. And that's when when the light went off.
Yeah.
The enlightened path showed up because I had stopped fighting the darkness. I was just like, oh, that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, forgiveness is a huge part of my story, but I think like forgiveness can like hold this connotation of like letting people off the hook.
Man,
and that's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's really like a lot of times, and so everything costs something, everything costs something, and I think one of the biggest things that forgiveness costs is humility, like holding on to like you don't you know what you did to me, like don't you know that was wrong,
right.
Or like in almost this, once again I got a monopoly on what's right, and so you should have did this, or that shouldn't have happened, and ultimately that might be right. There's so many things, and I do a lot of work with a lot of different people. There's so many things where it's like, yeah, bro, like, sis, that shit should have never happened. That shit should have never happened. And I'm sorry that you had that experience. And we're continue to relive that experience. And it has power on us in such a way that like we're not empowered.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, the person or the place or the thing that we've held a resentment against, not thinking about us. Like
moving on, just so fluently.
I've had resentments against people. I've had resentments against rural alert parking meters. I've had resentments against, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't none of them niggas think about me, But meanwhile, I'm walking around with this chip on my shoulder, like, man, damn, fuck them parking meters, man. Like, why, what that does is it. Like you said, Koffee, I'm smothered in darkness in such a way where it like hinders my movement forward. Like it prevents me from being able to create spaces for others to be able to be free because I'm not necessarily free. Right. Because once again, it's less about any of these words. Like I think I like podcasts, why I like art is because it wasn't until I changed my life that I created like a connection with it. And like it wasn't until I became who I am on the outside, on the inside, and actually who I am on the inside, taking priority over who it is that I am on the outside, that like speaking became easy. Because like I don't got to say anything articulate. I just come out and share what it is that I'm going through on the inside. You know what I'm saying? But when I wasn't living this life, I want to sound super smart. Like I go above and beyond to remember facts. You know what I'm saying? So I sound like I'm the smartest nigga in the room. Meanwhile, you could tell it wasn't authentic.
You're not reaching the people. I did that too with my poetry for a long time. I was pandering to my audience, and then this was something that I also like in that season of darkness that I kind of uncovered. I was rereading my poems. And it was a whole like period in there where I'm like, who the fuck wrote this? I'm like, who wrote this? I was like, oh my God. And then I was able to see the fruit of that. So I had begun to see, a lot of people who at that time where I was writing that kind of stuff would be like, oh, I love your work. You're so free, and like I'm so inspired by you. And then they too started to, kind of, if you inspired by something, you eventually would like emulate it in a way. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I was very disheartened that I took part in creating some of those things. It wasn't until, like I said, it was like while I was in the darkness, I felt like I was like, I'm like, well, imagine how painful it would be to go from a seed to a sprout.
Yeah.
Like that is some of the most gut-wrenching when you think about what a seed has to go through to produce a fruit.
Shit, butterfly. So caterpillars, when they're inside the cocoon, like they literally melt. Like they liquefy.
Yeah.
Before they're able to turn into a butterfly. So that's a painful process. I was going through like crazy heartbreak, and the counselor I was seeing at the time was like, metal. People do metal work. Imagine taking a metal chair and turning it into a new piece of furniture. Like you have to put it in the fire. It melts. You have to contort it, and then it turns into something new. Like that's a painful process.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes that's what provided the perspective for me of accepting and understanding. Like, you know, if I had not been through the ringer, I would have literally nothing to offer anybody. And it started to affect my work in such a positive way. When it comes to the things that I write now, it was in that space. I've always felt like God writes my poetry. Like I never once decided like I'm gonna be a poet. Like it just kind of came out of me. It just comes out of me, right? In that period where I didn't know who wrote it, that's when I was writing. When I took the pen from God and was like, I'm gonna get the people what they want, not knowing what the people wanted. Those same people who begged me to be, who screamed and clapped and begged me to throw that MF in there and to be aggressive and vulgar and explicit. Those were the same people who mocked me for it and was turned off by it and was like, ugh, I can't believe she's so. You know, they the same people who threw the dirt out. Yeah. So it was that people pleasing. That's another thing that happens. I think when we pursue happiness, a lot of people get their happiness from validation from other people and become like extreme people pleasers.
I think so. I think that's tricky too. I think we're social human beings, and I think there is a bit of, if there isn't you, there is no me. I've had the experience of like being in a crib and like it's almost like I'm in the four walls with chalkboards and I'm like just strategizing the shit out of life, you know. And then I go outside and there's an activation, or maybe like I'm booked for something, or I go speak, or I'm doing a artist activation, and then I touch the people and it's like, oh, this is who I am. Oh, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. So there's a bit of that feedback, but I think that feedback process has to be rooted in self-discovery first. And I think for me, like, because I went through that process too, but what it sounds like to me is your process involved actual people, where my process, I was in my fucking head like, ooh, they want this, they want more of this, so I'm going to give more of this. Meanwhile, it's just me and ego. There's nobody that gives a fuck as much as I do. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so it took for me to like, I wasn't getting a response, but like, it took for me to really like bring it in, like, yo, what do we care about? Not if you listen to my music, like you're gonna hear like I'm gonna do me or I'm not gonna do it at all, you know. And if either both y'all have been like one of my activations, so y'all know like the type of energy that we leave in the room, it's different. And I went back listening to my music, and you could see gradually it's like there's still a bit of like I want them to like this in there, but it's like I'm really leaning into who it is that I am. And then I've just been doing it because I'm about to release this single called Make the Hood Healthy Again, and it's coming out August 10th, and we're doing a lot of things around it to activate the community. We got entrepreneurs roped in. That's why what I was doing at the Waffle Cafe was I was highlighting Bug in the video. I want to highlight and platform Black businesses. I want to be able to use my art to uplift others and showcase others and put a spotlight on others, because where my art goes, you go, you know. And if you catch media for this, then they got to mention Bryce III. So, you know, that's how all the rising tide rises all boats, you know. But it's like being able to really just be me in my art. It is a process that's allowed for me to connect with the art in a way unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's almost the closest thing to God that I've experienced.
I got a question real quick though.
Sure.
Who gave you, like, because we talked about entitlement and rights. It's like you gave that to yourself, right? Like, I gotta be me. Like, it wasn't, nobody granted you that. Where did that come from?
It was, so for you, I think I got that answer from you earlier. It's like that bullshit that I experienced, that wisdom that was cultivated through that bullshit. Where it's like, man, like, you know, I'm going through all this and what for?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if I'm gonna go through it, I might as well go through it and be 100% authentic. Yeah. I might as well go through it and have fucking fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, because this shit might fail. Nobody might not look at it. Yeah. Nobody might not even think this shit is cool. Yeah. So let's have fun in the process, because then it's like, okay, that's happiness. I've defined like, okay, we're gonna enjoy this, you know, we're gonna enjoy it, and come to find out that resonates. You know, that resonates. People pick that up.
Well, both of y'all said, my bad.
No, go ahead.
But I was just thinking about, we are artists. I did a poem one time, and the dude was like, damn, is all your stuff just serious? And I thought about it later, because I'm like, I got funny shit. I got this type of shit. But it was a time where I'm like, I got to get this off first. Yeah. And I learned that, like, just listening to him, because I was like, I done wrote some shit in rebuttal and all that, but it's like, that don't mean nothing. Yeah. I got to get off what I need to say first. And that's what I learned with artistry. It's like we talk about that darkness and all that. Like, that shit, it chisels you. Like, I did, becoming a poet was not in my thoughts or vision or none of that shit either. But it was like, that's what got me to a point to be able to express myself in a way I never thought possible. Yeah. So when you talk about, like, you make music for you, like, or you do what you're gonna do, I can understand that completely, because it's like, fuck what you want to hear. Not to say I'm not gonna throw some of that in there, or once you learn the crowd react to this, but it's like, nah, this is for me. Like, this is my therapy. So that's what I learned with the artistry, for real.
And just a quick on that one. And so then it's like, that's with people that I work with, or like I'll take under my wing. Like, once again, it's that conversation with self. Like, just like defining what happiness is to you. What define what success is to you? Because you know, people end up open mic warriors, and you just end up on a circuit forever.
Started some shit.
So you 15, 16 years deep in the game, and you still paying $10 to go to these open mics, and mad that nobody paying attention to your shit. It's like, you haven't defined what success in this arena looks like to you. And so, if it was all about what I wanted and I make music for me, I don't think that I would be moving in the way that I do, because I really, like, part of my craft is how many eyes we can get, how many hearts we can touch, how many people are a part of it, how many people can we affect and impact, because I know how important this message is. I know how important Detroit is. I know how important our community is. I know how important the culture of empowerment is. And I know how important it is for somebody to see somebody in substance use disorder recovery of 10 years that's black, got sober when he was 24. I know how important, like, this story is. I know how important storytelling is. I know how many untold stories are right here in Detroit that aren't told, and I know how craftfully I can tell those stories. So a part of the fun for me, and a part of what it is that I define success, is like, how can I get this message out? So in that, there is a bit of like, okay, what do people think is cool? And what feedback have I gotten? Just like Chris Rock will go to clubs, Dave Chappelle go to these little hole-in-the-wall clubs. I'll go to open mics. I'll pay $5 to go to open mic and work some new shit out to see what people are responding to, what people are giving me the or the rewinds to, you know, if I do them a cappella. And then that's what I double down on. It's like I get more potent. Like, I fuck with my craft. Like, I'm really serious about my shit. And I know I've seen the impact that it's had on people. On the times when I'm down, I messages, DMs, steady coming in, like, yo, you said this. There was a guy at the last activation that I had. He was like, man, you know, I saw you the first time I performed, and I fucking bombed, and you said such and such and such to me, and, you know, this is years later, and he's like, and now look what I'm doing. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, and I always remember that you said that to me. I don't remember saying that shit, but it's just like, that's what this is. It's the ripple effect. If I stop, that stops, you know. And if and I can go everywhere with this, but I just watched the Flamin' Hot Cheetos movie.
I gotta watch that.
It is so fucking good to me. But Flamin' Hot Cheetos, my man's from the janitor went and took this pet project under his belt. Like, yo, we need to adhere to the Mexicanos. My people can be the thing that saves this company, and did everything. Got the attention of the head of Frito-Lay. And my man was like, we gonna take a bet on you. And then they put the Cheetos in the stores. Them shits ain't move. I'm talking about the shit that I came up, I dropped out of high school, but when I was in high school for the 9th grade, like, everybody's eating hot Cheetos. Generationally, my son is about to be 18, and his Takis and hot Cheetos, like, we're talking about cultural staples. When they were first put on the shelves, nobody paid a fucking attention. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't because they weren't good. It wasn't because they wouldn't go viral. It's because nobody knew they existed. So part of my craft is, how do I storytell? Because people don't believe in what they can't see. And also, people don't believe in what they're not emotionally invested in. So it's like, I can have the greatest music in the world. There's artists that are more talented than I am, you know, but people don't know they exist. So part of the fun in my craft is like, yo, how can I storytell in such a way to bring the eyes from all around the country internationally to make them pay attention to us and see like, yo, this is important and this needs to be installed in your community because there's untold stories just like this in your community.
Man.
That's good. I guess I personally have a sort of definition for success for myself, and that is I consider myself, when I say multifaceted, another word I use, like in place of that, is multi-servitude. So if I'm using my gifts the way that I'm supposed to, I should be making an impact and an income. And that is how I view like a reciprocal.
Is there an order to that?
No.
It's not. They both stand on the same plane?
Yes.
Okay.
Because when you're doing what you're supposed to do, the universe, God, Buddha, whatever it is that you believe in, gonna make sure you have exactly what you need to do that. And that's why I'm not afraid of being broke, or I'm not afraid of
broke don't exist. I got it. Yeah.
I like that.
Broke
don't
is
exist.
a mentality.
I'm not afraid of not having finances. I'm not afraid, but I'm also, what I've been working on lately is not being afraid of being like financially rich beyond anything I could think of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
because
the
there is also a fear that way when you're doing something new, and you have no idea what it looks like. It'd be impossible for you to define something you have never experienced. Which is why the picture in the back of my mind went away. Because I actually really have no idea what happiness or success looks like. Right? But I know that when I wake up every day, and I might get stressed out doing it, I might get tired and sore and all of these things, but I love every single thing that I do. There is not one thing that I do not love doing. And if it's something trivial that I don't necessarily enjoy, you know what I'm saying, like washing clothes or something, I enjoy looking good though. I love looking good. I love being clean. You know, so it's like I'm either actively doing something that I love doing, or I'm in the process. I'm processing my life and myself to do something that I love doing, which means I love doing that too. Yeah. So it's like if I am confused or I feel inhumane, like I said, like a machine, then that will make room for depression. That will block and hold up my feelings of euphoria and joy and happiness. And that is what lets me know that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. So then it's up to me to look around myself and figure out what exactly that thing is. You know, sometimes it's company we keep. Sometimes it's music that we listening to, or TV that we watching, or a job that is draining us, or it could be a plethora of things, because there is like a smoke and mirrors kind of trick to the kind of world that we live in, and there are so many things around us that are not actually real that are being presented to us as such, and a lot of those things come through things like our phones, media, music, and they, like I said, they can make you think, they can start to make you resist a natural order. But to me, a natural order is like, what are you, not saying that you can't work on something that you're not naturally good at, but if you find yourself doing something repeatedly and it activates, joyful, happy feelings within yourself, if you can execute that to whatever you define as perfection.
Yeah, I think it's important too. Like, I think at this point to take advantage of the attention spans of the listeners. Like, because I know there's somebody probably listening like, yo, the name of this episode was The Pursuit of Happiness. So, like, I hear what y'all saying. That shit cool. But, like, how do I pursue happiness? Where do I start? Like, where do I start? It sounds like you all have been doing work. Like, where do I start? I don't even have a reference point in my life for, like, what this looks like. And for me, and I'm interested in both of y'all takes, but for me, what I would tell you, listener, is there's this thing that I've stumbled across called comparative advantage. And this is in the realm of like that there is no me if there's no you. Like we're social beings. So there's stuff that like I didn't think was worth anything because it came easy to me that I thought it came easy to everybody. You know what I'm saying? But like learning, having an intentional conversation around like what is my comparative advantage? Like what interests me, and can I pay attention to my surroundings and see how that can serve other spaces, how I can contribute what interests me into other spaces. So it's like learning what my comparative advantage is, also learning to design an understanding of what people consider to be a contribution. Because I think that's the biggest thing around like passion. Follow your passion. Do what you're passionate about. Like, okay, I'm passionate about twerking in a tutu at 2 a.m. in the morning. Like, there ain't nobody gonna pay you for that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's cool.
Well,
but well, maybe. But if you can figure out like, I was at Dearborn Music the other day, and I found myself in this hole of like, they let you sample the vinyls in there, and there was this hookup that he had the vinyl hooked up to like this thing, and he had these bookcase, like bookend monitors that were hooked up to it. I didn't call the fucking manager. I'm like, yo, how did these hook up to this? And like, do you get the red and the white to go in those? Because I'm trying to figure out like how this plays into that. And he was like, well, you need an amplifier. And I'm like, I didn't find myself in this conversation where like and it was just natural. I'm just a natural curiosity. Right. Not everybody care about shit like that. It's like, oh, what is that? Like, is that studio engineering? Is that like, is that technology? Is that audio visual? Like where is there a profession or a career that I can lean into? How can I take advantage of this thing that is exciting to me? Who considers that to be a contribution? Right. Once I start that conversation, and follow me, Bryce the Third, everywhere, we can have a deeper conversation about that stuff. Because there's, even when we talking about getting a raise, right, at a job, like, well, you know, I do this and do that and do this and do that. They need to pay me more. Nigga, did you ever ask them if they wanted that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just as well as comparative advantage and passion is part of the conversation, contribution has to be a part of that conversation. Right. That's how we learn to enter ourselves into the chat around business. Yeah. So I would say start with learning what your comparative advantages are, because that can guide us towards those spaces that align with what it is that will contribute to our happiness. You know, that will help us pick a decision. Do I go here and work at this hospital that's like a guaranteed wage for such and such and such? Or do I take this internship at this record company that's not really like paying shit, but I'm around like all these people? Like if your comparative advantage is cooking, then neither one of those are going to be great for you. You know, but if your comparative advantage is maybe audio engineering or audio technician or anything to do with music, maybe you should take the internship over this, because that internship will hold more opportunity for you than it will for anybody else. You know, you'll learn how to identify those opportunities. And, you know, even beyond that is professional development. Is that something that's even in the realm of what it is that you consider to contribute to your success or your happiness? And if not, then maybe the conversation needs to be, what do you want to be in your life? Like, what is happiness? Like, what would that be? And if being able to pinpoint like logistics is too hard for you right now, that's cool too. I've been there. What does it feel like? What does it feel like? Is it peaceful? Is it easy? Is it resourceful? Right. Is it supportive? Are you fed? Are you bathed? Are you comfortable? Is there room for growth? Right. Like, what does it feel like? And then from there, maybe we can identify some logistics.
I love what you said, though, because you asked the question, like, how do you get there? Like, a person that's saying they start from scratch. And at first, I thought in my head, as soon as you said that, I'm like, you just live. But that's not a good enough answer. It's like, just keep living. Like, nah, fuck that. Somebody needs some tangible stuff. So when you said that about curiosity, it led me, like, I'm having these thoughts in my head of, like, damn, how did I get to where I'm at right now? Like, and I got inner peace or stuff like that. And it was literally just being curious. Like, I started, my ankle's been hurting since I was fucking 14. I rolled my ankles playing basketball and shit. And going on YouTube, I done discovered Tai Chi. I was doing yoga and like little shit like that. So it's like, I feel like the curiosity of just becoming better, I guess, and whatever better means to you. is where you would start, and that's where I started for sure.
That's dope, chasing that spark.
Man, I'm telling you, like that literally got me to where I am. And it's like sometimes I be in my head about it, like even when I just said that, like it got me to where I am. Like to other people, it's like, where the fuck are you at? Like who are you? Like, but it's like that don't mean nothing. It just means like I know where the growth comes in that for myself. So that was that just made me think a lot, man, for sure.
That's dope. I'm glad the gears is turning.
Yeah, for sure. I love this conversation.
It's always the right people in the room at Shotcast Network. Yes.
Every single time.
If I had to tell somebody, first of all, I wouldn't know what to tell them, to be honest, because it sort of just hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't really, and that's the problem. Like some people ask me like, oh, can you, do you teach poetry workshops or whatever? I can't teach that. I think do it.
Okay,
I really just be doing shit.
Yeah. But you can teach though.
I guess so.
Not to be like you. Like I can't make you like me, motherfucker, but I can show you.
I would say.
My bad,
no, you good. I guess I would say I made the decision that I was alive. I looked out at my hands and felt them without touching anything.
Right.
And decided I was alive. And from there, it was like, okay, now what? Because a lot of people, like you said earlier, you realize that time cultivates wisdom. Yes?
Time plus intention.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Because the reason why you didn't feel, that didn't resonate with you immediately from the older people that was around you is because they had no intention of using time to cultivate wisdom or to then share what that time and wisdom meant. They just had, forced expectations. And a lot of times we have those forced expectations of ourselves. Oh, I'm 25. I'm supposed to have these things.
Man,
what? And comparison can also be the thief of joy. I like the comparative advantage the example that you gave, and I feel like that too is something that helped me kind of define what makes me happy because I know what I'm good at, and I stand on that.
Right.
Can't nobody take it from me. I know what my strengths are, and I use them continually. That makes me happy for sure, or creates a joyful environment for me. But yeah, I can't really define any type of blueprint.
You did it though. You did it. You said like, I think this episode is like everything we talking about. And I said something about yoga earlier, and like even like meditation, they tell you like just breathe. Like that's how you get to another point. Like you said that though. Like I looked at my hands and I ain't touched shit, but I knew that I exist. It's like you took a moment to be in the moment. Like
yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
like that's what we all talking about.
And then I took responsibility for that moment, and I take responsibility for every single moment.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something earlier about what people find. I consider myself to add value. So the name of my production business is called Energetic Investments. And the reason why I called it that is because at the time I knew I had a big job to do, but I had nothing at all to invest into this big job but energy. And I gave it every shred of energy that I could possibly give it. And it lived. It existed, and it became a perpetual thing that started to grow pretty much on its own. So it's like you said, there's a lot of things that we naturally come with that people take for granted and don't see as valuable because it's not outside of themselves and they can't add it to themselves to be able to see value. But I see myself as valuable, and I know that my intention in every room that I walk into is to add value. That's what makes art a service. So I would say figure out how to be of service. Humble yourself and find and be in perpetual servitude. That's what we're here for. There is no me without you, like you said. Right. So in that case, what are we here for? Why do we need each other? To service each other. There's so much that you have to offer if you just start making offerings.
And I think that's a good bow. I mean, that's a good bow to wrap this conversation up with, because like I know in the realm of personal development and in the realm of figuring out where I'm at in life right now, and in the realm of like just this intentional conversation and building out what it is that I want to see expressed in my life. When it get too heavy, I gotta lean in the service. Like I gotta get outside of myself, and excuse me, and that getting outside of myself is what always gets me back on track and what grounds me. The service is one of the it could be like we're molding ourselves, and it's like I'm so caught up in the molding of me and who it is that I want to be and what it is that I want to impact and create. And it's like, yo, like this thing is a us thing. So how can I be of service? So that's a good place to start.
Fact.
Yeah, the separation itself, I feel like, it cultivates depression. Because why are you separating yourself from the whole? How can you be whole if you separate from the whole? So I feel like that would be my closing remark. Anything that you feel like our listeners need to?
I had a whole thought and that shit just went away.
Hey man, look, it happens.
Okay,
It
well,
happens to the best of us.
At least you can tell us where to find you and about your books and stuff.
Follow me on Instagram at Eric_Thompson Jr. Facebook, Eric Thompson Jr. I got 4 books out. One is called Blame It on the Music. One is called Emotional Black Guy. And I got 2 affirmation books for kids, positive affirmation for boys and positive affirmation for girls. And it's all on Amazon under Eric Thompson Jr.
Dope.
Bryce, what we're looking for you.
Yo, so you can find me at Bryce the Third everywhere. You can go to BryceTheThird.com, see where I'll be popping up next. I got a single coming out in August. If you're listening to this, it might be out already or it might be about to be out. Yeah, just catch me out, man. Yeah, let's connect.
So, and I am Koffee Dark and Sweet. If you're looking for me, you can find me anywhere using that name, KOFFEE, Dark apostrophe and Sweet. You can also find me making waffles at Waffle Cafe Detroit. You can find me under Energetic Investments and also One Crafty Mama. Thank y'all for listening.
That was fire.
That was lit. I'm sorry, I always bang his table. Because I be getting so excited.
That's how you know you're passionate.
Look, though, and I just had a thought too, because I remember, like, that's how I remember